most of the times, the fact that we are all Christians and we say the fact that I'm a Christian, you're a Christian, we are equally yoked. Therefore, there will not be any red flags that will happen. But that is really is not true. Hello and welcome to Future Husband Diaries. My name is Maya Swanda, and I hope that you've been enjoying the time that we've been sharing together, the episodes that we've been having, and I see that the community is growing. Thank you very much to the new people who have come in, and I hope that you really enjoy the whole community and building ourselves up. So like, subscribe, share it with other people that you think will benefit from all of this, and share it with the other girl that you think, this topic really might be for her and she might really like it. You can never know. So let's share it with other people and see where this community grows. Our topic today is navigating red flags. A lot of times, especially Christian women, a lot of Christian women out there, they are in toxic relationships. They are in relationships where there are a lot of red flags, but we tend not to move away from those relationships because when we are now looking at it, we will say, he's a Christian, I'm a Christian, we're equally yoked. The Bible says we should all be equally yoked, right? We should not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. And the fact that we are all equally yoked, we are all Christians in that manner. Therefore, whatever comes, that's just Satan trying to fight our relationship. That's just Satan trying to pull us apart. The fact that we're equally yoked, we are all good. But there is more to a relationship than just being equally yoked. Like you might be unequally yoked and equally yoked at the same time. What I mean is, you might be equally yoked in that you are all Christians in like manner, but then everything else you are not clicking. That person is just a red flag, and you are all like everything is just red flags and red flags. And you are not getting out of that relationship because most of us we tend to say, God has given me this relationship. You say, God has given me this relationship, therefore I will not move out of this relationship. And the other thing is, we are saying God has given you that relationship, and you don't even have the proof that God really did give you that relationship. The fact that a person asked you out, and after asking you out, you said yes, therefore God gave you that relationship. There are some relationships that come about, and that person might be a powerful speaker in the church, that person is a preacher, that person is a singer, that person is a what, but that person is definitely not for you, and God did not give you that relationship, and you are staying in there and you are being abused, something, that person is being toxic to you, and you are staying there and you are telling yourself that God gave you that relationship. I do not believe that God will give you a relationship that is toxic. I do not believe that God will give you someone that will terrorize you, that will emotionally abuse you along the way. God will not do that. The reason is, my God is a God of love. My God is a God that will give you good things, because that's what it says in the Bible. Therefore, God will not give me something which is toxic. God will not give me something that will be emotionally abusive. Therefore, what is it? My God will give me the strength. If I pray to God and ask God to give me the strength to move out of that relationship. Most of us would just say, God has given me this relationship. And there is no proof that God really did give you that relationship. And we are staying there. And it's now unfair, because whenever people are looking at you, now they're saying, if God is really like this, is giving people toxic relationships like this, then he's not a good God. We're giving God a bad name because we're choosing to stay in relationship and just covering ourselves up with what we think God has delivered unto us, and God did not do that. The fact that the person is very famous in church doesn't mean that God has given you that relationship. God can give you a relationship with, God can give you someone who is a layman in the church. God can give you someone who doesn't do much in the church, and you guys can equally yoked and you can move on together. But God is not saying that the fact that he's famous in church, the fact that he's doing all of this in church, God is giving you. No, that person might not be for you, girl. That person might, yes, be what, let him be whomever that he is, but that person not close to you. That person might not be your person. And most of the times we tend to be like that frog. There is a story, a lot of people like to use that story a lot. I'm going to use it again. The one that says, if you put a frog in hot water, it jumps out. But if you put it in cold water and then the water starts to rise, the temperature starts to rise and rise and rise and rise, that frog might die in there and it would not jump up because it is now used to that place where it's at. Most of us women, we tend to be like that. We get into a relationship, it's all good, it's all rosy, the love hormones are being spread out and everything is all good, right? And we love that feeling, like there's something about being loved, especially in the first days. Those hormones are going through you, and you're feeling that high, and you really like it. And then afterwards, that person starts to be toxic to you. The person starts to be giving out red flags. The fact that we are now so addicted, or we want to go back to that feeling that we had in the beginning, we stay. We'll be like, but in the beginning, this person was good. In the beginning, I was having all of this. So therefore, why will I move and change and be this other person? No, I'll wait. You will come back. I'm just going to pray to God, and God will change him. You go back to whom he was, and not realizing that at some point, other people are very manipulative in nature. Other people are very manipulative in nature, in that when they notice the things that you like, and they try and act like that person so that you like them. When they see that you have liked them, now you have fallen in love with them, then they show you their true colors. If that so happens, praying to God to change whom that person is character wise, that is unfair. We cannot be praying to God like, God change his whole character, like God will be doing these things out of that person's will, right? God will not do that. So some other problems, you cannot just pray them away and hoping that, God, what God, I'm saying change that person so that that person fits whomever I want. God will not do that. God doesn't play with free will. God gives free will to everyone in such a way that they are whomever they choose to be. So therefore, what you can choose is, you as a person can ask God to change you as a person, right? So that you can build yourself up and be a better version of yourself. And if you feel that the person next to you, like their whole character, they are just who they are, is not clicking with you, you can remove yourself from the situation, because God would not definitely impose his will on that person so that they can fit whomever you are. So what is it that you're going to do? You're going to go out and find the person that will work best with you. So therefore, girl, run from many situations. It doesn't matter whether he sings bass. It doesn't matter whether he preaches. It doesn't matter that he's part of the whole team, whichever way he's an elder, churches or what. If that person is a red flag, run, girl, run. If that person is a red flag. So what are the characteristics that I've seen that a lot of people possess, and people tend not to move from those situations because they are now, they like where they are, but then the situation is not improving in any way. Number one, as a person who's gaslighting you, you know, whenever I was looking at this, like I had to really like um, look into this, and I was so amazed. A lot of us are being gaslighted out there, especially by leaders of the church. The reason is Satan is putting those people out there. Let's not be going around saying God is putting those people, especially in this world that we're living in. A lot of these people are putting themselves in this position. You find the person is now pastor, and the person is putting themselves in that position. A very known group, that person is a very famous musician, and what, those people might really be pushing themselves and putting themselves in those positions, and God really didn't really put them in that position. And we tend to say, okay, if they're in a position of power, then they're okay, but not really testing and really seeing that are those people really God centered, are these people really putting their lives in God's hands. And we tend to overlook all of that because we say, therefore, the church, therefore, it's all good. And we get to be abused by these people. We get to be gaslighted by these people. We get to be manipulated by these people. People come in and then they manipulate you to be whomever, and you're not really sure who you are. At some point, you lose yourself in the relationship. If you find yourself that you do not like who you are after you've been in a relationship with that person, because that person is manipulating to you to be whomever that they think you should be. All of those signs are signs that you are not really equally yoked with this person, and this person really is a red flag, because they tend to not validate your pain. They tend to, they go around, the things that they say are not really like uplifting to you. The reason is you find you are in a relationship with someone and they lack like total respect for you. Whenever they are talking about you, like they are talking about you and they are weighing you down, they are like, your self-esteem is becoming low. Be like, hi, this one, no, she's very bad at this, she's very bad at this, no, she cannot do anything right, she cannot what. Those are a telltale sign of someone who is very manipulative and very abusive. Those are red flags that you should really look into. Other people tend to uplift themselves by pushing you down. I'm in a relationship with this person and they go around telling people in front of me, they're going around telling people like negative things about me. They're going around pushing me down. Therefore, that is a sign, or that is a red flag that I should really look into. Because if maybe you talk to that person and you see that they do not realize that whatever it is that they did was wrong, they do not realize, and they are very content with whatever step that they took, and they are willing to do it even further, or they're willing to do it again, that is a red flag that you need to run away from, because that person is just going to become worse and worse, and it's really going to affect your self-esteem as a person. The reason is, imagine someone who's going around being negative in front of you, negative. At some point, you as a person, you start to doubt who you are. You start to doubt whether you can do some other things, right? So those are things that you really should run from. I've seen some relationships where even as at church, a very well-known person, and when they are talking about their wife or whether they are talking about their girlfriend, and they try to diminish their light, they try to push them down so that they do not get back up in any way. That is a telltale sign of someone who is very manipulative. Right? And you need to be able to what? To remove yourself from such a situation from an early age. Early stage, when you're still dating, if you see those signs are only going to grow. The deeper you go into the relationship, that person is just going to keep on growing. And people who are, and you need to also run from a person who, um let's say, they know you can do this, instead of pumping you up, helping you grow you to a certain point. They're always trying to diminish your light, they're always trying to push you down, and they're always trying, to close you off from every single person. They are pushing your friends away, they are pushing the people around you to not have any friends. They tell them, make your friends, their friends are your friends. Anything else, they try and push you and mold you into, like, and they alienate you from family, friends, and what. Those are also signs that you need to run away from, because those people tend to be very abusive later in life. So those are the things that you can also talk to them about in the beginning. And if you see that it's not going to change, you are allowed to run away, because that is a red flag. That's a whole banner of red going around. Like, you need to run away. And especially someone who doesn't respect your boundaries. If you put up boundaries and that person doesn't respect them in any way, they're always crossing them, that is also something that you need to run away from. And people who are always hypercritical of you, you know um you do something, like, why can't you do something good in your life? You're doing this, you're very bad at this, you're very bad. People are always hypercritical of you, and they're always, saying it in a not so nice manner. That is another red flag that you need to be able to run away from. The reason is, that person is just going to keep on, if they see that you accept whatever it is that they're seeing, they're going to keep on pushing, and they're going to do that even more and more and more. So, and it tends to affect you. Have you ever been in a relationship with someone, at some point afterwards you do not really recognize who you are, because when you're looking, like, the things that I used to love, I do not love anymore, because he's not going to like them. He's going to be very critical of them. And then at the end of the day, you do not feel comfortable doing the things that you used to love. Therefore, that is also something that you need to run away from. And people who tend to make themselves the victim every single time, they do not take accountability for their actions. You need to know that when you're now looking at it, you need to be with someone who can take accountability for their action, someone who can be able to say sorry if they realize that whatever it is that they did was wrong, and they are sorry, and they do not want to hurt you. You need to be with people like that. The reason is, in life, like, being in a relationship with someone or being in a friendship with someone, it's not only about giving, but it's only also about receiving, and it should build us up. The friendship or relationship that we're in, it should build us up and become better, 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 better. If that thing is pushing you down and is making you to, not acknowledge your pain, someone was always telling you that you're over emotional, and they're always telling it to you in a not so nice manner, in such a way that it affects your character and what, that is a relationship that you need to cut. It's like, it's the stone to your balloon. You need to be able to cut that relationship and move on. You need to be with people that will actually build you up. You need to be with people that will help you build you up to the best version of yourself that you're going to. Most of us, we tend to look at ourselves and we say we do not deserve that. The reason is, especially for us, or for people, especially for people who grew up in a, in distorted, like, in communities that had a distorted view of family, or that had a distorted view of love, and they're always saying love is pain, love is what. And most of us, we have taken that and we have put it in our what, where we say, if that person is not hurting me, then they don't really love me. Because the community that we grew up in, most of the times, because of how people were always hurting each other up, a lot of people, that thing was installed in their mind, that love is pain, love is pain, love is pain. So whenever they are now growing up, right, they are now associate love and pain to go walk in hand. And if they are in a relationship with someone that is just love and everything is all okay, they now look at it in another way and be like, "Ah, this one is boring, eh? What is not my type?" And we tend to move ourselves towards the people who are, who are toxic. Why? Because even at a young age, we have, you know, put it in our heads that if you hurt me, then you love me. It had also, I think it had to do with the television or the communities and the people all around us that had were telling us all of that. And a few people grew up in very love filled homes where everything was just honey dory and everything was lovely, right? Um, and then others had to be hot spotted by other people who were toxic, who were coming from toxic relationships or were coming from toxic families, and they were hot spotting other people like, no, this is not how love is. So we have a whole generation of people who associate love is pain. Love is pain. Maybe it had also to do with the music that we're listening to, which was always telling us about people cheating. It was always telling us about people, doing bad things, hitting people and what, and we associated that with love. Because most of the people, whenever you get into a relationship with, if I get into a relationship with a good person, you get into a relationship with a good guy, they will tell you this relationship is boring, I cannot be in this relationship, this person doesn't love me the way I want to be loved. Which way do you want to be loved? Most of those people, whenever they do that, the reason why they want someone who hurt them, someone who cheat on them, and that whole drama, we get addicted to the drama and we associate that with love. But love doesn't have to be like that. Love doesn't have to be pain. Love can be all rosy, love can be all good all the time. It is possible, but because we have told ourselves that is not possible, love has to be pain, love has to be pain, we sort of like seek it out now. You see the red flags in people. When I see those red flags, I know this person is going to be toxic to me in this way. Subconsciously, I see those red signs, I see those red flags that that person has, and then I'll be like, yes, this is my type. And then I take that and I put it onto me, and that person does the things that I really saw at the beginning that they were going to do, and they do that, and then like, yeah, that pain and what, and then I go back to the relationship, I come back, it's sort of like we are now addicted to that, that feeling, and it gives us the high that you're looking for. But that is not how love is supposed to be. Because when you're now looking at it, like, love is not supposed to be pain. You can have the whole love, and you can be in a relationship and everything is okay, and you do not have to associate it with it. The reason is because of our trauma. Now most of us are now looking at the hurt part and associating with love. But what is it that we should really be doing? We should look into healing ourselves before we get into this to other relationships. Because if you are not healed, if you have that trauma, maybe you associate love and hurt to go hand in hand. You get into a relationship with someone who just associated with just love, and they're not doing the things that you expect them to be toxic to you. You end up being toxic to them so that they reciprocate by being toxic to you. You become that toxic person in that relationship. So what is it that you need to do? You need to be able to heal first, so that you do not go around hurting other people. You need to identify the red flags that are in you. Work on those red flags that are in you, so that you do not become a red flag to the next person. I'm not saying, all green lights, green lights, green lights. No one is all green lights, green lights. We all have our own red flags, amber flags, and all. But we can work on them. Identifying them is like half the problem. We identify them and we work towards them, and work towards building ourselves up so that we can become better versions of ourselves. So that when we get into a relationship, we do not hurt the next person just because we have associated it with pain. We want to be inflicted that pain. So most of us, we have that, not because of what, but maybe we are not consciously realizing that we being red flags, or we go out and look for those red flags that that person has so that we can bring them closer to us. But we really need to heal, and then after healing, be in loving relationships with people that do not have red flags, or that do not have to be abusive to us. And I've seen it in a lot, especially for people, I do not know exactly what made us associate love and hate with that, because growing up I used to have like this friend of mine. Whenever she was in a relationship with someone and that person wasn't beating her, or that person wasn't emotionally abusive, or in and should like, this person is boring, and she would start cheating on that person, so that there'd be some kind of toxicity in there. We need to be able to identify those things in us and be able to heal from those things, so that we do not go around spreading this animosity, spreading all of these things to a lot of people. And be builders of relationships. Be the positive that we want to be in life. There's nothing wrong with being in a relationship with someone who's that is a healthy relationship. Most of us do not tend to look for this healthy relationship. We tend to look for these toxic relationships, or when we get into toxic relationships, we do not want to move out of them, because we're like, I've invested a lot of time, I've invested a lot of money into this person, I've invested a lot of me into this person. So therefore, if I had to move, then it means nothing. I did not gain anything out of this. You can be able to move out of that relationship, and you can look back and be like, oh, that time is not wasted. You were able to learn something from that relationship, and you are able to see next time that I will not, whenever I see this telltale sign, I will be able to move myself out of that relationship, so that learn something from that and move on from all of those things. So what is it that we need to do ourselves? We need to develop the good habits in ourselves and be able to identify the bad habits in other people that we cannot handle, and move ourselves out of that situation. The other things, as the reason why maybe most of us are just pushing away the bad habits that we had, is because maybe, oh yeah, like, those bad boys things, people are always looking at, like, yeah, he's a bad boy, he's a bad boy, I like him for you. The friends that we have are the ones who are pushing us towards those toxic people. The people that we have around us are the ones who are pushing us towards those toxic relationships. Like, yeah, he's a bad boy, he's a what, he's going to be nice, he's going to be what. But then prioritize the things that you want. Do not look for red flags in people and then associating yourselves with them. You are allowed to move out of that relationship and move and find a person who only bring you the kind of life that you deserve. And maybe you are looking at yourself and feeling you do not deserve that. You need to have that self-respect. Look at yourself. I used to tell this to my kids when I was teaching kids. Of like, look at yourself in the mirror and be like, God, oof, when you're creating me, you created this nice person. Have those self things that motivate you, the Bible verses that motivate you to have that esteem that you need, so that if you see something that is a red flag, you're like, I do not deserve this. God will not bring me something like this, so therefore I'm going to push it aside. Therefore, I'm just going to look for things that are not going to be toxic to me. And other things that make people to be like that is because of people in the church telling you, no, when I met my husband was this and this and that, and then I stayed, and then after staying, he changed and he became this and this and this. That is not the story for every single person. That's their story. That's who they are. You do not have to follow their footsteps and go into that That's them being in that toxic relationship. That's their journey. But your journey started off right way. Started off with the right, put your best foot forward in such a way like this. I cannot handle this. I'm pushing it aside. This I cannot handle this. I'm pushing it aside. I'm only going to be able to handle this. So therefore, I'm going to look at this because we do deserve a lot. We do deserve the best in our lives. So therefore, let's go out and look for the best in our lives. We do not have to be in toxic relationships just because other people will be sad. That's not their life journey. It's your life journey. My life journey and your life journey are not going to be the same. Do what makes you happy and walk the best walk that you've ever encountered. I will also try and do the same. That's all that we can ever do. Don't try to be someone else. Don't try to follow someone else's footsteps and all. So make sure that you run away from red flags that do not work. You cannot pray for a person's character to change. You can only pray that God, intervenes somehow. But God, as long as that person is not praying for themselves, for God to change their character, that will not happen. God will not impose himself on them. What you need to do is build yourself. Pray for them, yes, but don't expect that God will impose himself on them. No. So build yourself up. Be the best version of yourself. You deserve the best. Find the best version that has to walk next to you so that you walk all the way towards heaven together. If you cannot find what you're looking for, you are allowed to be in a single season in your life. You are allowed to sit it out. You don't, like, not everyone is destined to be married. Not everyone is destined to be in a relationship with a pastor. Not everyone is destined to be in a relationship with a musician. Not everyone is destined to be in a relationship with a very famous person. Not everyone is destined for that. Some of us are just destined to have the greatest love story with the best lay people that you have ever encountered. And that might be you. And you, as long as you look for what you need and what you would like in life, God will open the doors that you need. All of this, you do it prayerfully. Don't just do it, but just do it prayerfully. God will help you in everything that you need. So what you need to do is run. Go run from red flags. Run from red flags. Love and pain don't walk hand in hand. Love is very beautiful. People are distorting love. Pain is pain. Pain is not love. Pain is pain. Right? So maybe that person hates you a little bit. That's why they're inflicting pain. But love has no pain. A person doesn't have to inflict pain for you to believe that that person loves you. So I don't know. Look at yourself. See what you deserve. All right, so that's all that I had for you today. I hope that you like, subscribe, and share with other people that you think would really, be who are in toxic relationship that you think should get away, get out of those relationships, and you do not have the guts to tell them. Let's just send them this video, and you can never know. You build them up to be the right and the best version of themselves. That's all that I had for you today. Like, subscribe, share it with other people, and let's join the community and be happy together. Thank you very much to all those who are joining in, and I hope that we'll grow together and everything, be positive. All right, so that's all that I had for you today, and I hope that we'll meet each other next weekend. Have the best day. Bye.